Okay, so when I told people that I was doing an episode called Three Things Everyone with Migraines Must Have Every Single Day, I could kind of already hear what they were thinking, right? Magnesium, ice hat, probably some kind of a special diet. But no, that's not it. I mean, I'd love it to be that simple. But if those things were the answer, you wouldn't still be here looking for one. So, what I'm going to share today are three things that when I didn't have them, my body could not regulate itself. And I don't mean like regulate in a very vague wellness way. I mean the kind of cellular level regulation that actually keeps your migraine threshold from sitting on the floor every single day. That's where mine was. It was on the floor every single day. Now, these are not quick fixes. They are not products. And when I tell you what they are, your first reaction is probably going to be, well, I already do that. But in all kindness, if you're listening to this and you have migraines, you do not. Not the way I'm going to explain it. And I want to be clear about something before we start. These three things are not just about migraines. They're about making sure that your body does not generate new symptoms and does not make existing things worse, and also about giving you the energy and the brain clarity to actually live the life that you want to live. Now, right now, migraines, they're your loudest signal. But when these three things are missing, your whole body pays the price. So, thing number one is about sodium and potassium, but not the way that you think. I need the right balance of sodium and potassium every day, just like you do. And before you like shut this episode down right now, because you're like, I'm already doing my packet, or I've gone to the store and I put, electrolytes in my water, just hear me out for a minute. Because I'm not talking about just dumping stuff, in your waters or on your fries or grabbing a banana and calling it a day. I'm talking about the sodium potassium ratio inside your cells and why it matters more for your migraine brain than almost anything else that you've tried. So here's the science in plain English. Every single nerve cell in your body has something called the sodium potassium pump. Now, it is a tiny protein that sits in your cell membrane, and its entire job is to move sodium out of the cell and potassium into it. It does this constantly, millions of times in a minute throughout your entire nervous system. So, why does it matter for migraines? Well, it matters because that pump is what controls how electrically excitable your neurons are. And when the pump is not working well, your neurons become hyper excitable. And a hyper excitable brain is a migraine brain. Now, here's the part that most people miss, and this is important. What throws the pump off is not just what you eat. It is everything in your life across all six of the key inducer areas that we work with in the Freedom from Migraine method. Your nutrition matters, but so does your toxicity load. The medications you take, the personal care products on your skin, the cleaning products in your home, the environmental exposures you don't even think about. Many of these interfere directly with how your cells absorb and retain electrolytes. Your movement patterns matter. The wrong kind of exercise at the wrong time, it's going to spike your cortisol and burn through sodium and potassium faster than your body can actually replace them. Your stress response and mindset modulation matter. Every time your nervous system fires a threat response, your adrenal glands pump out cortisol, and cortisol drives sodium excretion. Chronic stress means chronic depletion. Your sleep matters. When your lymphatic system is not clearing inflammation overnight, your body stays in this low-grade inflammatory state all day long. Chronic inflammation burns through electrolytes at a rate most people never account for. And then toxicity across your environment is quietly doing the same thing in the background, whether you're aware of it or not. When you sweat, when you're sick, when you're stressed, when you're inflamed, when you're not sleeping well. All six of those inducer areas that we focus on in the Freedom from Migraine method can actively deplete what your sodium potassium pump needs to function. This is why you can drink 8 glasses of water a day, take your electrolyte packet, and still feel like something is off. Without the right sodium potassium ratio, your cells cannot actually absorb what you are giving them. The water passes through, the electrolytes don't land the way they should. And you are left wondering why you are doing everything right and still feeling depleted. You can eat clean, prioritize your food, and still feel foggy and reactive because the depletion is not coming from one place. It's coming from your whole life across all six of those inducer areas. The reason that this surprises people is that we've spent decades being told that sodium's the enemy. And then on the other side, we've been told just to take a potassium supplement and that will balance things out. But neither of those is the full picture. Your sodium potassium pump does not respond to sodium alone or potassium alone. It responds to the ratio between them. And that ratio has to come from real food sources and the right conditions inside your body for it to actually work at the cellular level. You cannot supplement your way to a functioning pump if the other 5 inducers, if those areas are actively working against you. For me personally, I make sure that I'm getting sodium and potassium in the right portions for me specifically every single day. And not because I follow some magic formula, because I've learned what my body needs. And that is different from what your body needs. Your history, your stress load, your sleep quality, your movement, your toxic exposure, all of it determines your personal threshold. Now, for a migraine brain that is running hot and reactive all the time, your sodium potassium balance might be one of the most important things that nobody has explained to you. This is also why some of you feel better on certain electrolyte drinks and cannot figure out why. It's the ratio. Your cells were depleted and they finally got what they needed. Now, before we move on to number 2, I'm just going to caution you here. Again, this is not about jumping to the store, picking up a packet, and just trying to work on one thing in exclusion. You need to work on all 6 key inducers at the same time. If you don't, adding that electrolyte powder or eating an extra banana or doing, work on adding stuff into your diet, it can actually make things worse. So make sure you're working with someone who understands this before you start dabbling in it. Now, thing number 2, it's about sleep. But this isn't about the hours. It's about the architecture. I know that you hear sleep and you're thinking, I do my best. I get to bed. I do as much as I can. And you're kind of rolling your eyes at me like, seriously, sleep? That's what you're going to tell me is going to fix my migraines? I mean, I hear all the time from women, my sleep's fine. I'm in bed for 7 to 8 hours. Yeah, I might wake up at 3 in the morning, but it's fine. I wake up to pee like 4 times a night. But let me ask you something. Do you fall asleep easily, or do you lie there with your mind running? Do you wake in the middle of the night and then just lie there staring at the ceiling? Do you wake up and feel your heart beating a little faster than it should? Do you feel wired but exhausted all the time? Do you wake up with your jaw tight or your body aching before the day even started? And do you get to the afternoon and feel like somebody pulled the plug on you? Those are not just tiredness. Those are warning signs that your sleep architecture is broken. And for a migraine brain that is already running in a state of chronic inflammation, Broken sleep is not a side issue. It's a direct driver. And here's why. It's because your brain has a cleaning system called the glymphatic system. It's essentially your brain's like overnight janitorial crew, right? During deep sleep, your brain cells actually shrink slightly, which opens up channels that allow cerebral spinal fluid to flow through and flush out inflammatory waste products that have been building up all day. Your brain physically clears inflammation while you sleep, in deep sleep specifically. If you are not reaching that state consistently, that waste accumulates. Your inflammatory load increases and your migraine threshold drops before your feet even hit the floor in the morning. 7 or 8 hours in bed is not the same thing as 7 or 8 hours of actual restorative sleep. And the difference between those two things is the difference between a body that is clearing inflammation overnight and a body that is just lying there accumulating it. The bags just keep piling up. And this isn't about going to bed earlier or sleeping in. It's about protecting the conditions that allow deep sleep to happen. And that connects directly back to everything that we just talked about. Your electrolytes, your toxicity load, your stress response, your circadian rhythms. All 6 inducer areas, they play a role in whether your glymphatic system actually does its job overnight. Now, when I started addressing all of it together, not just sleep in isolation, but the full picture underneath, everything shifted. All right, thing number 3, your first 30 minutes of light. This one is going to sound almost too simple. I thought it was way too simple, but the science is going to make sense, and you're going to understand why I think about this every single morning without exception. I want to start with estrogen because this is the piece that most people skip over. And for women with migraines, it's not a small detail. So estrogen plays a direct role in modulating inflammation throughout your body. It influences your pain threshold, your nervous system sensitivity, and how your body regulates its inflammatory response. And when estrogen fluctuates, especially during perimenopause, your body's ability to keep inflammation in check becomes less predictable. You already know this, right? Especially those of you perimenopause, the migraines increased, you already know this. So here is what connects estrogen to your morning routine. Estrogen is deeply tied to your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm governs when your body produces and clears estrogen throughout the day. And when that rhythm is disrupted, estrogen regulation becomes more erratic. And more erratic estrogen means a less stable inflammatory response, which means a lower migraine threshold. So here's how you set that rhythm every single morning. When your eyes are exposed to natural light within the first 30 minutes of waking, it triggers your brain to release cortisol. Not the chronic low-grade cortisol that comes from stress. The healthy morning cortisol, that pulse that's your body's natural signal to begin the day. This pulse actually sets your circadian rhythm for the next 24 hours. It governs your hormones, your energy, your inflammatory response, and your sleep architecture that night. When it doesn't happen because you wake up and go straight to a dark room or spend the first hour scrolling on your phone, your rhythm's off. Your estrogen regulation is off and your inflammatory response is off. And your glymphatic system that night may not do its job as efficiently because the circadian signal that triggers deep sleep was never set properly that morning. It's one domino and it sets everything else in motion. Now, for perimenopausal women, this is not a lifestyle tip. This is a physiological intervention that addresses one of the root reasons your migraines have become less predictable. 30 minutes, natural light, morning, not through a window. Try to get outside. Now, I live in Rochester, New York, so I totally get it. When I say this, you might be thinking, we don't have any sun in the morning. Unless it's raining, get outside. You're still getting sunshine through the clouds. And if you really live in an area where you're like, it's impossible. There's no way this is happening for me, then let me know. We can look into alternative ways for you to get this in the morning because it really is essential. I spent years not understanding why I felt so much better on certain days and so much worse on others with no obvious trigger. Light timing was part of that answer. So here's what I want you to notice. We've gone through all three. So here's what I want you to notice about all three of these. None of them are products. None of them are medication. None of them are something that you have to wait till the migraine shows up to use. They are things that your body needs every single day to regulate itself, to keep your inflammatory threshold high enough that migraines are not inevitable. But more than that, to make sure that your body is not generating other symptoms, not making existing things worse and actually giving you the energy and the brain clarity to actually show up for the life that you have, that you want, that you deserve. The sodium potassium pump keeping your neurons from going haywire. That's what it's doing. And every one of the six key inducer areas either is supporting it or depleting it. The glymphatic system is clearing inflammatory waste during deep sleep when all of those same six key areas are in balance enough to let it do its job. The morning cortisol, that pulse setting your circadian rhythm, stabilizing your estrogen regulation, and determining whether your body runs on a schedule or if it's going to be off schedule all day long. This is what root cause actually looks like. Not a supplement you add, not a trigger to avoid, a body that has what it needs to stay regulated. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, but how do I know what my body is specifically missing across all six of those areas? That's exactly the conversation we have in a complementary migraine breakthrough assessment. It's your personal chance to learn about your situation. It's where we look at your full picture and figure out what has actually been keeping your threshold on the floor. So if you want that personal assessment, grab the link in show notes. If not, I hope you come over and join us in the Women's Migraine Freedom Group, where we talk about things just like this on a daily basis. All right, everybody, make it a migraine-free day, and we will see you soon.